Hello everyone, it is LB3 and I am back again with another draft profile video, and we are finally moving off of LSU, although we are moving back on to presumptive top 5 picks. Well, at this point, I think it's unlikely the Bengals take this player, both because I don't think he's going to last to them, and because I don't think they're really considering it. Even if he does, I think he's going to go fourth overall to the Falcons. So today we're going to take a look at Florida tight end Kyle Pitts. And yeah, he's pretty good. He's a good football player. So I don't want to waste any time here. So let's just jump into the evaluation. As usual, we will start off with the athleticism, and Kyle Pitts is a phenomenal athlete at tight end. He does have a fairly narrow frame for a tight end, which is something we'll talk more on later, but genuinely this workout wouldn't look out of place for a wide receiver who's 30 pounds lighter. I don't agree with the Calvin Johnson comparisons from a playstyle standpoint, but just looking at their size and freakish athleticism, I get it. Pitts is an absolutely monster athlete, which isn't surprising when you look at the tape. He looks like how he tested, and he tested like how he looked. Just checking the athleticism box on the way to the draft. My only other note is I wouldn't say he's particularly explosive. And I'm not saying this is a super negative, but he seems more of a build-up speed kind of guy to me, not a guy who really always fires out of his stance. Although there were definitely moments where I could see him rev up a little bit quicker in the tape. With that said, I'd like to move on to the tape and the strengths and weaknesses. However, you'll notice them on camera again, and that's because this is a special case. When discussing strengths and weaknesses, I generally like to use broader strengths and weaknesses, not focus on the nitty-gritty little details for each one, because I think it just makes for more enjoyable content, especially in a video format, it's led me to some interesting problems, and especially in this case, because I couldn't find a particular weakness for Pitts. I do still have some small complaints, but nothing that I found that I could really make a full weakness on. So instead of having strengths and then weakness and strength and then weakness, we're just going to have 4 strengths. And I'll, bring up my little nitpicks here and there throughout the strengths. So let's go ahead and kick things off. All right, so kicking it off with strengths, and what is most important to talk about with tight ends than blocking? This was the only thing I think you could put as a weakness maybe, and there will definitely be some nitpicking. But for an extremely thin tight end, a guy you'd think would struggle with blocking and who had a ton of receiving yards, he was a very willing and solid blocker. I have 3 plays here that I loved, especially the third play where you just see the effort and the physicality. Then I have one play, which I think shows that maybe he needs to work a little bit on his pass blocking technique. He just wasn't asked to do it much. But in my honest opinion, if you're asking Kyle Pitts to pass block, maybe you should reevaluate what you're doing. The second strength that I want to talk about is Calpet's versatility. This is a reason I think he's worth a top 5 pick that I may not think so normally, especially for a tight end, and maybe why the NFL may be more comfortable taking him top 5. Also, of course, after seeing Travis Kelce and George Kittle and Darren Waller dominate the league the last couple of years, every team says, I want one of those. And Pitts is the closest we've ever seen coming out of the draft as a pure prospect. I already mentioned Pitts is a more than sufficient blocker in college, so he can be lined up in line without being a liability. As you can see here on this second play, he lines up in the slot, does a very nice job for himself. And then in this last play, and multiple other plays I watched, they literally line him up out wide and he's getting open. Now, would I make him a consistent outside receiver? No. He clearly isn't as comfortable outside as he's on the inside. Keep him in the slot or in line where he can bully slot corners and linebackers rather than moving him outside. But he can go there. That's how versatile he is. He can do whatever you want him to do. The third strength we're going to talk about is going to be quick and easy. We're talking about his hands. They're great. In 2019, he had a little bit of a drop problem. Not too bad. But then in 2020, he cleaned it up. He had soft hands. He was going up and getting it, building space at the very end, fighting through contact. He just looked a complete natural out there catching the ball. And that's all I'm really looking for. He is great at all of it. And finally, the last thing that we'll be talking about is his route running. Bring up the little nitpick. Is it elite wide receiver prospect good? No. But once again, he's a tight end. It is elite tight end good. Pitts runs a variety of routes, uses hands and feet well with sharp cuts, and seems to possess a solid amount of nuance. Now, I got a lot of plays for this. Alright, so first play, borderline calling it route running. But I do. He understands where the corner is looking, and in a legal way, overpowers him to give the quarterback a window to throw to. Second play also doesn't seem like route running. He's just running a straight line. But if you notice the speed variance, That's something I love seeing wide receivers do. Something as small as speeding up and slowing down at the right time can lead to wide open windows. Also, Kyle Trask, that throw was awful. On this third play, he lines up outside, and after a simple little jab to the outside, the corner eats it up. Pitts gets inside leverage. Slant, easy money. Last play, this time from the slot, similar situation, comes up to the point where the corner has to choose outside, inside. By keeping his feet and head forward, he freezes the cornerback just long enough to leave an easy hole for him to run to for an easy completion. All right, now we are done with the strengths and weaknesses. So let's move right on to the comparisons. It was tough because I really liked him. I like him a lot, so it's tough to find a player that I like as much or that I think plays like him. The one that I found the most that I liked was Darren Waller. That's my comp. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Darren Waller is my comp. I would like to note that I strongly disagree with the Jamar Chase and Julio Jones comps just as much as I disagree with the Kyle Pitts and Calvin Johnson comps. I don't get where they're coming from with those. Freak athlete, big guy for Pitts, I guess, but I just don't get them. Go with style comps. They're more fun to me. All right, after my small rant on comps, which I'll probably rant about every single video for the rest of time, let's move on to my closing words. And I can't believe I'm saying this because through small glances, I didn't think it would be this high on Kyle Pitts, but Kyle Pitts is hands down the best prospect I've ever made a video on. He might possibly be the best prospect that I have ever scouted. Obviously, the love that I display for him means that he's going to be terrible and he's going to bust out of the league within 3 months of being drafted. But in my opinion, short of the worst quarterback situation possible, and even then, I don't see a path where Pitts does not succeed in the NFL. And I'm only glad that he won't be going to a Bengals divisional rival. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed and learned something new. My next video is going to be on a favorite prospect of mine, UNC wide receiver Dyami Brown. So make sure you check that out.